Hello, everybody. Thank you for coming back. We have 3 short stories for tonight. Are you ready? Lights out. Midnight Mira comes with tales that creep. The whispering Tiktik. They say, when you hear the Tiktik far away, it is already near. In a quiet barangay surrounded by thick banana groves, Mara had heard the warnings all her life. The Tiktik, a creature that mimicked bird calls, searching for pregnant women or the weak. But she was young, strong, she had nothing to fear. Or so she thought. If you like stories like this, please subscribe and ring the bell. I will be ringing the bell also when I have new stories for you. Now, back to the story. The night of stillness. That night, the power went out. The wind had stopped. The trees stood still. Even the crickets, silent. Mara sat on her bed, scrolling through her phone. Her grandmother's words rang in her mind. If you ever hear the Tiktik at night, do not look outside. Then, a sound. Tick, tick, tick. A slow, stretched out call, coming from the trees. She rolled her eyes. Just a bird. A stupid bird. But then... tick. Closer. Too close. The hairs on the back of her neck stood on end. The air felt heavy, wrong. The room smelled of something rancid. Something was outside. Watching. The shadow. Her window had no curtains. Just thin wooden slats. She stared at them, at the small gaps between them, and then... a shape moved. Something huge, crouching just beyond the window. A twisted, dark outline with long fingers pressed against the wood. Then... the slats shifted. Something was peeking through. Mara's breath caught in her throat. A single, bloodshot eye stared back at her. Then came the whisper. I see you. The escape. Mara screamed and bolted for the door. She ran down the dark hallway, slamming into furniture, her breath ragged. Behind her, the slats snapped apart. The Tiktik climbed through. She didn't turn back. She couldn't. Her feet pounded against the wooden floor. She reached the front door, her fingers fumbling with the lock. Then... a clawed hand gripped her shoulder. Cold. Unyielding. The final warning. The next morning, her family found the door wide open. Her bed was empty. No footprints, no sign of struggle. Just one thing. The slats on the window, ripped apart from the outside. And in the distance, carried by the wind. Tick, tick, tick. The hunt was never over. Another story coming up. Lights out. Midnight Mira comes with tales that creep. The Visitor at Midnight. A short, terrifying story based on a Philippine urban legend. They say, if you hear a knock past midnight, never open the door. In the small town of San Roque, an old legend warned of the midnight visitor. A woman in black, who knocks on doors when the clock strikes 12. If you answer, you are never seen again. The skeptic. Jules, a college student from Manila, didn't believe in superstitions. He was staying at his aunt's house in the province for a few weeks. A quiet place. Too quiet. It's just an old myth, he scoffed when his aunt warned him. Jules, promise me, she said, gripping his wrist. If you hear knocking past midnight, do not open the door. He rolled his eyes. Fine. The knock. That night, the power went out. The house was silent. The only light came from his phone screen. Then, knock, knock, knock. Jules froze. His eyes darted to the door. Knock, knock, knock. A woman's voice. Soft, weak, trembling. Please, let me in. It's cold outside. His throat went dry. Tita, he called, thinking his aunt had returned. He peeked through the window. No one was there. Then, the doorknob turned. Click, click, click. The reveal. The room grew colder. His breath came out in white mist. The air reeked of rotting flowers. Then, he saw it. Through the small gap under the door. A pair of feet. Not human feet. Black, rotting, with nails like claws. They didn't touch the ground. The voice giggled. Jules. I know you're awake. His hands shook as he grabbed his phone and typed a message to his aunt. Before he could hit send, a new message popped up. I'm behind you. The phone died. The lights flickered. And the knocking came from inside his room. The vanishing. The next morning, Jules was gone. His bed was empty. The front door? Still locked from the inside. His aunt found only one thing on the floor. His phone. A single message on the screen. Let me in. Here is the third story. Are you ready? Lights out. Midnight Mira comes with tales that creep. The smiling stranger. They say, never smile back at a stranger in the dark. In the town of San Miguel, elders warned of the Njizing Dalim, the smiling darkness. A tall figure that stood at street corners, grinning, waiting. If you smiled back, it would follow you home. But Leo, a city boy visiting his cousin, didn't believe in old stories. Just another provincial myth, he laughed. That night, he learned the truth. The stillness. It was past midnight. The streets were empty. Too empty. No dogs barking. No insects chirping. Just an eerie, hollow silence. Leo walked home from a friend's house, hands in his pockets, phone in hand. Then, he saw him. A tall, shadowy figure standing at the far end of the street, near the broken lamppost. It didn't move. It just stood there, smiling. Leo chuckled. Creepy dude. And then, he smiled back. The movement. A gust of cold wind rushed past him. The figure was gone. Leo frowned. He looked around. The streets were still empty. Then, a whisper. I like your smile. Leo's stomach dropped. The voice came from right behind him. He spun around. Nothing. But the air smelled wrong. Like burnt leaves and something rotting. He took a shaky step forward. A shadow moved in the corner of his eye. Then, a face appeared inches from his own. The same twisted grin. But now, the mouth was too wide. Too stretched. Too many teeth. The escape. Leo ran. His heartbeat hammered in his ears. The wind howled behind him. He didn't look back. His cousin's house was just ahead. Almost there. Then, hands grabbed his shoulders. Cold. Clawed. Gripping tight. His own scream was swallowed by laughter. The final warning. The next morning, Leo's cousin found the front door wide open. Leo's shoes were neatly placed by the door. His phone sat on the table. But Leo was gone. No one ever saw him again. But at the corner where he disappeared, a new figure stood. Tall. Still. Smiling. Waiting for the next one to smile back. Thank you for coming. I hope to see you soon. Don't forget to like and share and also leave a comment for me. I hope you enjoyed the story, but beware, some tales refuse to stay on the page. This is a Mr. Lights Out production. If you crave more horror, Mr. Lights Out has ebooks and physical books waiting for you on Amazon. Stories that whisper in the dark, that follow you long after the last page is turned. Dare to read. The Arya the Aswang Slayer series, where creatures of the night are real, and they are hungry. The Curse of the Manananggal, a tale that seeps into your mind, and lingers. The stories are waiting. The shadows are watching. Find them at the link below, if you dare.